On behalf of all of us at the Calgary Flames, my name is Beasley, saying so long and good evening. Be sure, drive safe on the way home tonight. Brendan Parker, Cory Sarich for tonight's Flames TV live post-game show, presented by Original 16.
Original 16 gives you the chance to win one of 3 Calgary Flames fan experiences. Details in the new limited edition 15 packs of Canadian Pale Ale. Original 16, official beer sponsor of the Calgary Flames. Must be of legal drinking age, no purchase necessary.
All right, welcome inside Flames Postgame Live. It is brought to you officially by Original 16. Calgary Flames and Seattle Kraken tonight here at the Scotiabank Saddledome. And maybe a surprising or sudden turn in that third period, and it ends up as a 5-4 Seattle Kraken victory here tonight. And the visitors call a timeout in the third period when things seem to be kind of getting away from them, and they end up coming away with a victory. How did things unfold through your eyes here tonight?
Yeah, very slow start for the Calgary Flames tonight, but it didn't really hurt them. You know, the first period probably didn't go their way. I think that Seattle carried most of the play in that first period. Zadorov comes out, tries to spark the team, gets in a scrap, and ultimately it was working. I thought the Calgary Flames responded very well in the second period. They had some nice performances from their wingers tonight that were very noticeable. I mean, Dubé and Mangiapane continued with their very consistent play this year. But again, halfway through the third period, which it looked to have it all locked up, things got away from the Calgary Flames. So This was a bit of a roller coaster tonight. It had a little bit of everything.
Sure did, yeah. And maybe as we describe it, let's show you how it looked, because as you said, it was kind of a slow start. It was a Seattle lead in this hockey game in the first period. This was the only goal of the first, and it was an absolute laser from Carson Soucy, but that was the deficit the Flames had.
That was a really nice setup by Burakovsky on this goal. He draws 2 Flames defenders to him and is trailing defenseman hustling up the ice, and that was an absolute laser. That was Vladar didn't see a ton of shots that period. Yeah. That one was labeled absolutely.
Yeah, high quality. Soucy gets his first of the year, but here's the spark that you were talking about, and maybe it starts with that scrap at the end of the first period, but this was on the offensive side. Nikita Zadorov gets in on the offense, his second of the season.
Yeah, he picked a great spot here to jump up. It's a bit of a 4-on-2, and they lose track of Zadorov coming in, and we got two defensemen and 2 goals.
Absolutely, and both of them are pretty in nature, and it would continue for the Calgary Flames in that second period. This is basically all Nazem Kadri here, coming driving wide and then finding a loose puck and an open net.
Yeah, and this goal was contested by the team, which put the Flames on the power play afterwards, after it was ruled that he did not interfere with the goaltender. And this is a goal that Nazem Kadri scores because he goes to the front of the net. He's not one of those guys that goes around the net, and he gets some good fortune that it sticks with him. But those are the types of goals that a lot of players won't score because they'd be circling behind the net, not number 91.
No question, and has to make a nice play along the goal line just to find that puck and get it through. But once again, there would be an answer before the end of that second. Morgan Geekie finds it, and another pretty well-labeled shot there on this one.
Yeah, this was a little bit of a giveaway in the neutral zone by the Calgary Flames, and ultimately the outnumbered opportunities. The Seattle cashed in on them, and we're going to see more as this thing rolls along.
Stacked up, and this is the start of the third period. We talked about momentum and the roller coaster. Well, it starts to sway back into the favor of the Calgary Flames, and nice little face-off play, and Tyler Toffoli finds one here. Quick release off the face-off.
Yeah, and I think he gets his 400th career point. Yep. Gets that out of the way, and we know he can shoot the biscuit.
No question about it. In fact, it's at 199 goals now in his career, so to go along with his 400 points, Toffoli makes a mark early, and then this was 15 seconds. You can still hear the goal call from the last one on in the background from Beasley, and there's Trevor Lewis stepping up, and he's got his second.
Yeah, and at this point, you're thinking Calgary Flames are in full control. We're working towards the midpoint. Well, actually, this was early in the third period, but they got to the midpoint of the third period with that 4-2 lead.
And this is where it starts to change, and it's a power play that starts to sprong the offense, because Daniel Sprong scores there on the power play, part of the fun. And it kind of changed the tide of this hockey game, didn't it?
Yeah, this was not very well defended by the Calgary Flames, but they should have never been in this position, this power play shouldn't have happened. And remind me to talk about that after, Brendan.
Yeah,
why not?
We'll talk a little bit about the momentum shift there, and this is where the onslaught continues. So this was actually a Flames power play, and Yanni Gourde scores shorthanded. That would make it a 4-4 game, and just kind of a turnover coming out of your own zone.
Yeah, this is a power play opportunity for the Calgary Flames. This is a shorthanded goal. This is an absolute you cannot. Nazem Kadri, who scored a big one for the Flames earlier, he's kind of the culprit on that goal, and that's a backbreaker. She's a tie game.
Odd man rushes, you touched on it earlier in this highlight pack, and inevitably it's what leads to the game-winning goal, and it's the rookie, Matty Beniers, who ends up getting it.
Yeah, and again, how many outnumbered rushes did we see in this third period, Brandon?
Yeah.
There was just way too many, and they all occurred mostly in the span of about 5 or 6 minutes. From that 10-minute mark of the third period, Seattle was able to spring loose quite a few times. They capitalized on their power play opportunity, then 2 or 3 odd number chances, and that was all she wrote.
It's funny because, well, and maybe you touched on it, you wanted to talk about that middle frame and how in that back and forth exchange, you know, there are moments that we talked about in the first period, Nikita Zadorov, maybe that fight helps kind of bring it back on your side, but in the third period, you know, it's penalties and special teams that ends up kind of shifting the momentum back to the visitors in this case.
Yeah, and I'm maybe going to just point a finger here for a second, but the penalty that Ritchie takes, it's just completely unnecessary. It's behind the Flames net. You're in full control, 4-2. Seattle has no momentum in this game whatsoever, and you put those guys on the power play with... It's almost as bad as coaches will talk about an offensive zone penalty when forwards take one a mile away from their net. Well, this is just as bad. Your defender's in great position. You got no business there. Anderson can skate his way out of that, or call for a reverse, make yourself available. And that ultimately for me, that was the catalyst, and that kind of set the Calgary Flames in motion the wrong direction.
Well, let's hear from the head coach of the Calgary Flames, get his reaction on how tonight went from his perspective, and the end result, a 5-4 loss at the hands of the Seattle Kraken. Here's head coach Daryl Sutter now at the podium.
What did you think of that third period?
Our power play and penalty killing didn't hold up very well in the third period. Took a couple bad penalties and they scored on one. Penalty killing wasn't good enough, and our power play turned the puck over. They scored.
It's 2 games in a row. Is this something you'd be concerned about, losing the lead in third periods?
Yeah, we've come from behind. Well, in the first 8 games, we've been down 2-0 twice, down 1-0, up 2. So maybe it's the year.
Did you find the emotional engagement was where you needed it to be from start to finish tonight, or?
Yeah, I don't think it was very loud in here tonight, no.
I'm assuming you were not happy with the first period from your team.
Yeah, it's the way, you know what, Seattle plays that game, right? They block a lot and they don't give you much, so you gotta be patient and play through it. And guys break and turn pucks over. That's what happened in the third, right? So we were doing it the first. Same guys were doing it in the first. We're doing it in the third.
Do you see the desired effects you're hoping for from some new lines that you've rolled out there tonight?
I think Lindy's line was all right, other than Luch turning the puck over for the winning goal. I think Jonathan's got to speed his game up, that's for sure. I think that Michael's line was solid, and fourth line was on for 2 and took a penalty for another one. Louis scored, so they didn't hold up their end of the deal either.
What did you see from Zadorov tonight?
You know what, he tried to get us going, right? Give him credit, and I know he made the play in the second period on the turnover, but he's got to eliminate those, right? That's part of Z, right? But I think he's played good for us.
What do you trace the turnover on the fourth one to? Like, is that predictability from the power play? Is that poor puck management by the last guy?
Yeah, there's probably all of them together, right? Not just who turned the puck over. I think all of them together. I think before that, on entry on the left side, 10 had the puck there. You know, you got to go past it, past the killers. We pre-scout that pretty good. We make that play, you got to go past it.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
A pretty Pretty good breakdown from the head coach there. Kind of went through all of his new look lines. I think all 4 of them were changed in some form or another entering tonight. But maybe just before we get to the lines, let's just pick up on Nikita. And you mentioned it earlier on about the, trying to stem some of the momentum, the scrap early on, and just maybe his impact on tonight's hockey game and what you saw from Big Z.
Yeah, he's been very noticeable in the early start to the Flames season, and he knew that his team had no jam here, so he takes on the biggest guy across the ice from him, and he's a big man himself, so he can handle himself in a tilt like this. But good on him. It maybe didn't have the effect on the crowd that you'd hoped, but it seemed to spark his team, and he wasn't done there. He got involved, jumping up in the play, getting involved offensively. I actually saw him later in the second period getting another chance up the ice in the middle, in the slot, joining the rush. And you know what? The odd time things don't go your way too. He might have been part of one of the goals for the wrong reason, for that the Kraken scored. But again, he's trying to do the right things. Yeah. He wants to make a difference, and as long as a guy is committed like that and goes about his business the right way, I mean, that's what you want. You want a guy that's invested in your team, and he wants to be impactful for the Calgary Flames.
What about from your perspective? You heard kind of Daryl's assessment of new lines, but obviously as a coach, if you're making some changes like that, you're trying to find something else or finding, maybe a little bit of a spark. What do you make of trying to switch some things up, especially at the top end of your forward groups, and maybe what you saw from it here tonight?
Yeah, I think so. And again, if you're going to call them first, second, third, fourth lines, it's your first line that doesn't have any 5-on-5 points yet this year. They've got some power play points for this group, but he's just trying to get guys going, and you got to mix it up a little bit. And like I said, your record is 5-2 going into this game tonight. Why not now? I don't mind that. Yes, sure. You're saying maybe you're tinkering with it a little too much, but these guys throughout the Flames lineup, and especially throughout their first 3 lines, they can all play with each other. They can all figure it out, and maybe it sparks them to get moving. I don't know if it really changed a lot tonight. I don't know if we saw it. I think we saw consistent play still out of the same guys that we have all season long. I think it's those guys that haven't been quite as consistent he's trying to get going.
Sure. And obviously there's going to be a pretty good stretch here coming up for the Calgary Flames that'll see lots of action. So maybe an opportunity to see a few more changes as we go along. Let's go inside the Calgary Flames locker room now. Tyler Toffoli, one of the goal scorers, and as Cory pointed out, 400th career point here tonight, is standing by.
I think we just we kept turning the puck over, and eventually it was going to bite us in the ass, and obviously that's what happened.
And so did you think that was a case of all night, and you just really paid for it at the end?
Yeah, it's kind of the way we've been playing all year. We've strung some shifts together, and then kind of make those mistakes, and it's obviously hurting us as a group right now.
Despite the loss, how do you think your team did at 5-on-5?
We lost the game, so not very good.
That's 2 games in a row where you guys have squandered a third period. That's pretty uncharacteristic for this team. Is it something that's got to be talked about?
Yeah, obviously we're not happy. We're an older group, and we know that good teams don't do that. And obviously we're trying to find ourselves as a group right now, and turning pucks over throughout the game. Like I said, it's eventually going to bite us in the ass, and obviously that's what happened.
Sean, you were emotionally engaged from start to finish, and like you normally were tonight.
Our team?
Yeah.
Not really. I mean, obviously they scored first. We were chasing the game, and we had the momentum there in the third, and they scored one, and obviously it kind of kept going.
Thanks.
All right, there's some thoughts from Tyler Toffoli in the Calgary Flames locker room. We'll go back inside right away here, but maybe just we'll pick up a thought on Nazem Kadri and just 3 goals in 4 games for him, and obviously the timing of his goal at that moment. Flames, started to really generate some of that momentum we talked about, but again, it kind of switches on you again in the third period. But just Kadri here tonight.
Well, just him as an individual. I mean, he has been a bright spot for the Calgary Flames this year.
Yeah.
Besides last game where he was finally held off the score sheet, he's got points in every single game this season, and you can't ask much more of a guy. And the way he plays his game, he takes pucks to the dirty spots, just like on this one. He might get railroaded going in there some nights, but he still goes about his business that way. Yeah. And the thing for me about Nazem Kadri is how natural defense comes for him. Like, I always realized or always recognized that he was a good defensive player, but just if you watch all the small little things that he does in his own end, it's very simple. They might not be flashy, but I mean, as a very defensively skewed human, I notice it, and watching him, he makes it look effortless, and to be a defenseman on the ice with him in your own end would be a treat.
I was just going to say, you think about your time with guys that you've played with. I don't know who would stand out to you, but guys who were so reliable, or just guys that as a defenseman you love to see on the ice with you at the same time.
Yeah.
Damon Langkow, would he be in there?
Well, Lanks was pretty good in his own end. Stefan Yell was pretty damn good here in Calgary as my teammate.
Yeah.
You know, one of the best at both ends of the rinks. Connie was not bad at it.
Yeah.
If we could get him come back to our end. No, anyways, but no, just looking at Nazem, it's so natural for him, and those are guys that you wouldn't have to have many discussions with because he just knows where to be.
Yeah, he's just always there. Yeah. Well said. All right, let's go and hear from the man we just talked about there. Nazem Kadri is standing by now.
Yeah, just a couple tough breaks that were kind of self-inflicted. So at the end of the day, we having a 2-goal lead in the third period, you should be able to close it out. But give them credit, they pushed back.
What happened on the play where did you not see him when Gord took it from you?
No, I did. It was it was a tight drop pass, but he did a good job angling. I just tried to kick it out, and got a pretty good fortunate bounce that ended up landing right in front of him. So hey, that's on me, and we'll be better than that.
I think a lot of people would have expected this team, like, that would be your forte, holding on to a third period lead. Is that the way you see it too? That should be your forte?
For sure. And, that's something we're definitely continuing to build on. Still early in the season. I think, these type of situations we wouldn't want to happen, later on in the year or in the second half or around mid-season. But, that's no excuse. We still got to bear down and get the job done.
It seemed like puck management was a challenge throughout the night. How do you clean that up?
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, I don't think we gave up a ton of really opportunities. I mean, would they get how many shots? In the 20s? Was it in the 20s? So, I mean, I don't think we gave up a ton, but, just the quality of chances, we have to improve on. And that's something that, like I said, is just, self-inflicted. And, that's something we can, certainly own and fix.
Considering all the line changes that were made for ahead of the game, how did you feel comfort-wise playing alongside John and Dubé?
Yeah, I mean, we seem to shuffle it around. I think that's, a positive that guys can play with everybody, but, sometimes it's going to take time to, form that chemistry and learn those tendencies. And like I said, it's, it's the early stages where we're still trying to feel it out. But at the end of the day, we got to have that one, and, we're gonna look to get better.
Talked a lot about your leadership abilities and just the leadership in this room. Like, are you seeing in a game that was lost on self-inflicted wounds, are you seeing sort of the right response, the right mood in here?
I think so. At the end of the day, you got to be accountable, right? You own it. You fix it. You watch the film. You try to improve. I mean, that's just the name of the game. That's how the NHL works. It's a fast game out there. Not every single time it's going to go exactly the way you drew it up. You'd like to execute, but we're going to clean that up, and that's certainly something we're capable of.
Okay, thanks,
All right.
All right, Nazem Kadri, and talked a lot about his defensive game and what's really stood out to you in the early going of being able to see his Calgary Flames tenure. But another guy that really specializes in that area that had a strong night, but something we've been pretty consistent in seeing from Chris Tanev, number 8, is just his ability to defend and what he does in the checking game. What stood out tonight?
Oh, he makes blocking shots look very easy. I don't know if we're going to see any of those, but he had a lot of outnumbered opportunities against him tonight and reads this perfectly, gets down. That almost looks like an instant replay, but that is a different rush against him. He had a couple in his own end where he had to quickly react to guys as well, but I'd rather not see Chris Tanev diving around and having to be on his stomach, but he reads plays so well that, I mean, it's just part of his game, and it's kind of a natural instinct for him. And we don't really need him to mix in offensively, but little rough luck with the iron there would have been nice to see that one cashed in on, because that was at a very critical time in the third period.
Yeah, it was 4-4 at that point, and that one hits all iron, but it looked like maybe it had a chance of bouncing off of Decor and going in, but he finds a way to reach back and save it off the goal line. Let's hear one more comment from the Calgary Flames locker room. It's Nikita Zadorov, and we wrap up the post-game show.
Assume that the decision to drop the gloves was to try and spark your team?
Yeah.
And do you feel they responded?
Well, yeah, I think we responded well in the second period. I thought we had a pretty solid second and started with the third.
Where did that emotional drop-off occur in your mind? Because it looked like you had it back.
Well, what do you mean, sorry?
Well, you have the fight, and
Yeah.
you've got some hits by Luch, and it seems like everything's going, and then all of a sudden, you've got a lead again. You kind of had that, and then all of a sudden, you could look at turnovers, I guess, or maybe an emotional drop-off. Which was it for you?
No, I mean, good teams pushing back, you know, like we got up 2-1. I think we were pretty good after Naz goal, and we give up the own man rush on 2-1. They scored a second goal, and I think we were fine after that, finished the period, and then we came out hot in the third, got 2 fast goals, and I mean, we blew a lead after. That's how simple it is, yeah.
Sorry, was there something you guys stopped doing at 4-2, or how did you see it turn from there?
Well, I mean, we turn the puck over, we give up a breakaway, we give up a 4-2, and power play backdoor pass. You know, it was a couple penalties. I think it was just, I mean, we're not a young group of players. You know, we definitely one of the oldest and experienced team in the league, and it's definitely unacceptable for us. You know, it could happen to young teams, but it cannot happen to us. So I think it's definitely on all of us. You know, we made individual mistakes, individual mental mistakes on the ice in crucial minutes, and it cost us a game.
These ones have happened to everyone before. How do you park a game like this?
Just wash it up. I mean, the good thing in this league, you know, tomorrow's a practice day, and then we go back to the game. You know, it's not like football. You have whole week to think about your mistakes. So I think it's definitely a focus day tomorrow, work day, and then we get back to Nashville on Thursday.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Original 16, a great way to celebrate things done well.
Flames TV Live, the post-game show brought to you by Original 16, celebrating things done well. Brendan Parker and Cory Sarich putting a wrap on this one here tonight. Flames fall 5-4 at the hands of Seattle, and I guess just kind of one of those, chalk it up to, as Nikita said, kind of a learning experience in some ways, but not happy with it. You can tell from the reaction inside the locker room about giving up that lead in the third.
Yeah, and I like his comments. This is a fairly veteran group in there, right? And you've added pieces this year to help solidify closing out games like this, and it just didn't happen tonight. And you don't want to, I think Darryl summed it up well too. He didn't relate to individuals. He's just said our power play and penalty kill didn't get it done. And essentially that kind of was the turning point there with those 2 goals early in the third period.
Yeah, no question. And we were just talking about it as we were listening to some thoughts. Saw this stat this morning that kind of speaks to maybe the early season in the National Hockey League, or October. I know it's November tonight, but 48% of wins this season across the National Hockey League entering play tonight were comeback wins, so 70 of 146. So there's been a few lead changes and a few comeback wins across the board. By the way, that is the most in NHL history to this point of the season. So kind of speaks to what we've seen early across the National Hockey League.
It'll be interesting to take a look at that later on and see if that holds up. I mean,
protect some leads.
Early in the season, guys are still trying to sort things out defensively. Sometimes you're just giving up a few extra here and there, but very surprising. And I lead changes would also be interesting to see how many of those occur within games too, and that number might be astronomical too.
Yeah. Well, I don't have those in front of me, but I'll work on that for next game.
Well, there's a few tonight.
There was a few tonight, and in the end, it cost the Calgary Flames. That'll do it for us. Thanks for doing it, Cory, and we sign off here from the Scotiabank Saddledome, knowing that there's still 2 more games to come here on this homestand, the 8-game homestand that wraps up on Saturday night. 5-4 the final here this evening, but the good news is it's right back to the office Thursday night at 8 against the Nashville Predators on the schedule. That's when the Flames will be back to work, and then wrapped up on Saturday night here back at the Dome. Thanks for watching Flames Post Game Live, brought to you by Original 16. We'll see you on Thursday night.